Hello, welcome to Michelle Sews Again. I'm Michelle. Today I am going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to share with you my thoughts on ambassadorships, sponsorships, free gifts, and pattern testing in the YouTube sewing community. If that sounds interesting to you, then please stay tuned. So I haven't been good about telling you what I'm wearing when I'm filming because I usually put it in the in the description box. But what I want to start doing is telling you what I'm wearing and then sending you to the link of the review because I review all the patterns that I sew. So what I am wearing today, and I'll put in some better pictures here, is the Mercis top from Pattern Fantastique. I made it out of a ice-dyed thrifted sheet, and I definitely had some issues with the gusset under the sleeve, which is why I wanted to do a test version, a muslin version, but it's still wearable, and I wear it for work all the time. But yeah, I'll refer you to my review of this pattern. Okay, so I'm really coming at this from my goal is to share my thoughts with other sewing YouTubers and kind of help them decide whether or not, and I guess Instagrammers too, decide whether or not you want to participate in any of these programs and to help you think about what you should consider when you're contemplating participating in any of these programs. So, but I'm also curious to hear what those of you that are viewers or, consumers of people who participate in these programs, what your thoughts are as well. So let's just jump in. Okay, I'm going to start with the ambassadorships. Now, I will admit my experience is very limited. I have only done an ambassadorship with one company. And my advice to you after doing that in hindsight is really think about what your reasons are for wanting to participate. In hindsight, what I discovered was I was just so caught up in following other YouTubers, and so many people were either doing ambassadorships or pattern testing or doing sponsorships, all of these things. And I felt like if I want to fit in, if I want to be a real sewing YouTuber, then I need to do some of these things. So when the call came out from Rebecca Page Patterns that they had an open call for ambassadors, I signed up and I got accepted. Well, the reality is I had never sewn a Rebecca Page pattern. I had never even downloaded a Rebecca Page pattern. And in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best fit for me. Now, let me walk you through what their commitment requirements are, because that's something you should also look at. Number one should be, do you already love the patterns that the company is producing? If that answer is yes, then you should go to the next step. If that answer is no, then you should cease and desist, right? And that's my lesson learned. But here are what the requirements were for the Rebecca Page ambassadorship. Now, this was a couple of years ago. I did my 1 year and then I didn't renew it. Their requirements could most definitely be different now. But at the time, they wanted you to commit to sewing 8 items over the course of a year. I felt I was sewing a lot. I haven't lately, but I still sew a lot. So one garment every month and a half didn't seem like an outrageous commitment to me. So that part didn't put me off at all. The other requirement was that it had to only be from their new releases. Now, they do several new releases every month, so there were several things to choose from. The problem with that is that you signed up through a Google document. They had a limited number of people that they wanted to sign up for each of the new releases. So it was first come, first serve. If they had 5 new releases and I was only interested in one of them, but I didn't make it in time to get on that list, then I either had to skip that month or I had to sign up for something I wasn't interested in sewing. So that was one of my big issues. this isn't really an issue, but they did require one Instagram post to coincide with that make. They wanted you to release your Instagram post on the day of the pattern release so that people who, as they're promoting the new release, people could see it on real people, right? So it was a medley of people, all shapes and sizes and all that good stuff, which is a good thing. But you weren't allowed to combine it with any other thing. So you couldn't be promoting, or not promoting, but you couldn't even mention any other thing. So if you happen to be wearing it with, you know, let's say I made this top and I made the bottoms, I couldn't, and the bottoms were a different company, I couldn't mention the bottoms in the post at all. Not a big deal. So that, and I'm sure most companies are probably like that. So really for me, the biggest issue, now, the other thing I want to mention is, as an ambassador for Rebecca Page, you were not a pattern tester. They had a separate group of people doing the pattern testing, and the testing was supposed to be complete by the time I got it as an ambassador, which was, I was supposed to get it 2 weeks before the pattern release date so that I had time to make it. And the problem with that was the pattern testing was not always complete by the time I got the pattern. So either I didn't have the full 2 weeks to make it, or I got the pattern and I was given a revised version after I had already started cutting out and sewing. So that was another issue that I wasn't really happy with, because that's wasted fabric. It's, you know, that's an issue. Now the benefits, so this is what you have to decide for yourself. Like, you look at that list of commitments and then you look at the list of benefits and you decide if that washes out for you. It did not wash out for me. Although it is, in my opinion, based on some of the other ambassadorships I've heard about, I feel like it's a pretty generous benefit. They gave us, and I think this was new the year that I became an ambassador. I think the previous year that they had limited, but the year I became an ambassador, they gave you full access to their complete library, their complete pattern library, and you got a code. You could download as many of their patterns as you wanted to. Here's where my issue with Rebecca Page comes in. It's not the right company for me. They do a lot of knits, they do a lot of children's clothes, they do a lot of crafts. None of those are my go-to. I like wovens, adults, and they have some of that, but it is not their primary. So when they were doing their new releases every month, there were a lot of knits, there were a lot of kids, there were a lot of crafts. So I will be honest, I did download a handful of their patterns from the pattern library. I didn't download a lot, even though I had access to download. I could have downloaded all of them if I wanted. You need to judge for yourself whether or not the commitments are worth the benefits. So just make sure that you're making the right decision for you and for the right reasons. So in hindsight, I am not against ambassadorships whatsoever. I think that they are a great way for us as sewists to understand how real people make garments from these companies and how they look on them, what issues they might have had putting them together. I feel like I just picked the wrong company. Style Art, sign me up. Fabric companies, quality fabric companies, sign me up. I would be a Style Maker ambassador, a Minerva ambassador, a Blackbird Fabrics ambassador. From a pattern company perspective, give me Style Arc, give me maybe Seamwork and Fiber Mood. That's a subscription thing. That's a whole other video that I'll talk about, but I do like the patterns that I've bought from them. So like I said, I'm not against ambassadorships. You just need to make sure you're making the decision for the right reasons, unlike me, where I was just trying to keep up with the Joneses. Not ever a good reason to make a decision. All right, the next topic I wanted to talk about is sponsorships. Now, I have zero experience with sponsorships. I haven't done a single one. I get offers, I'll be honest. Anybody who has a YouTube channel, once you get to a certain level, not that I'm at a very big level, but I think usually once you get like past 1,000 subscribers, you get offers trickling in. I've had offers that just aren't they're not in line with what information I'm providing to you guys. I mean, I get them for jewelry and for technology and I don't know, just like weird things that are unrelated. Now, I guess jewelry could be related because it's about styling and clothing. You know, you style your clothes. So that one could maybe be a good one. But like technology, and I forget what this newest one was that I just got. Optimizing something. I don't know. It was also a technology one. So I get offers. I've never done one. Because I haven't gotten one from a fabric company or a pattern company. So that's me. Now, my point of view on sponsorships is coming from a viewer perspective because I haven't done one myself. Do I support the idea of sponsorships? Yes, I do. Absolutely. Do I trust everyone that does sponsorships? No, I don't. You have to trust your gut. You watch YouTubers, you know which ones come across as authentic, you know which ones look like they're just in it for the money. Not that they got to be doing something different than me because there's not a lot of money. But if somebody's doing this as a career, and I don't mean everybody, I trust Whitney from Tomcat Stitchery like anybody else in my like small group. I think she's authentic. I think she's true. I think she's got ethics. There are other people who are doing it as a living that I might not necessarily trust that they're giving me an honest opinion because it's being paid for. But that's just me. What I would suggest to you is to trust your gut and then do your own research. So if you've seen something that looks interesting from somebody that you're not 100% sure that they're giving you an honest review, then go, that looks interesting. Maybe I should consider that. Then go on the internet and do your own research. That's easy. There's a plethora of information out on the internet for you to make an informed decision. My thoughts on gifts. Now, gifts are things that are given to you by companies, and the difference between a gift and, let's say, a sponsorship they pay for. Nobody's doing a sponsorship and not getting paid. A gift is given to you, and there, in theory, should be no expectations on the part of the company for sending you a gift. They should not have an expectation for there being a post. They should not have an expectation that if you do a post, that it's going to be positive. It should be a completely honest review if a review is shared. Again, I would suggest that you refer back to what I just said about sponsorships. Go with your gut. If you trust the YouTuber, you kind of inherently know who's giving you feedback that's positive because they really love it and who's giving you feedback because they just want more free gifts. That's up to you. I have gotten some gifts, not a lot. Last year, Morex is a fabric company out in California. They asked me if they could send me some fabric. They said there's no expectation. You don't have to do a review on your channel. If you do, that'd be great. They wanted an honest opinion. I've still not done that review because I haven't used very many of their fabrics that they sent me. So I will do a review on that soon. But that's kind of an example. Like, they sent it to me. It's been well over a year now and I've done nothing with it. Okay. And my final topic is pattern testing. So I do have some limited experience with this, and I say limited because it wasn't for me. This is another one where I would suggest that you think about the reason that you want to participate. Is it because you love sewing for the sake of sewing and you don't mind doing iterative versions? That's where it got old for me. I don't like redoing the same thing. And for pattern testing, you are making the garment, you get an advanced copy of the pattern, right? And you have to make the pattern, and you're giving feedback to the designer for them to make changes to either the instructions or to the pattern. There may be issues with the pattern. So as a pattern tester, you're doing iterative versions because other people are also pattern testing and they're giving feedback. So you could get multiple versions of that pattern before it is finalized. And if you're committed to being a pattern tester, then you're supposed to be testing all of those versions until it's gotten right. That was too much for me. It's not something I enjoy. There are people who enjoy that, and more power to you. Go for it. It wasn't for me. Some of the pros, obviously you get early access to the pattern. I believe more than likely, if this isn't a pro, then that's a big miss on the company's part. You should get a free copy of the final release. And then some companies compensate you for your time and your fabric. Not all do though. So for a cons list, most companies do not compensate you for your time or your fabric for testing their pattern because they believe giving you the free pattern is enough of a benefit. I call poppycock on that. And then the other con is what I already said. You're creating multiple versions of the same garment to help them get the fit right. The only time that I will do this anymore is if it's a favor for somebody that I love on YouTube that maybe is creating a pattern, or yeah, that's probably the only thing. Even for a pattern company that I love, I don't think I'm interested in being a pattern tester. I will do it for any of my YouTube friends that feel like they want to launch a new pattern, as long as I'm interested in making the pattern, and as long as I have the time. Sometimes those things don't coincide and I'm not able to, but that's probably the only time that I would do it anymore. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these topics. If you are a YouTuber, do you participate in any of these programs? And if so, what are your reasons? And are you happy with the program? If you're not a YouTuber, are you participating with any of these programs through Instagram? And how is your experience? Or as a viewer, what are your thoughts on them? Do you trust people that give you reviews when it is sponsored or paid for by the company, or not? I would love to hear what you have to say. Wherever you are, I hope the weather's amazing. I hope you're able to get some sewing in, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.